My neighbor banged my door at 2 a.m. screaming my son-in-law hurt my daughter. What I found inside shocked everyone. The knock came at 2:07 a.m. Not a knock. A fist. A battering ram of flesh and bone against the cheap wood of my front door. The sound split the night like a gunshot, and I was awake before my eyes opened. Boom. 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 Elias. Elias. Open the door. Marga Rhett. My neighbor of 17 years. Her voice was a raw scrape, torn ragged by something I couldn't yet name. I swung my legs off the bed, the floor cold against my bare feet. The clock on the nightstand glowed red. 2:07. I'd been asleep for 3 hours. Boom. Boom. Please. He's hurting her. My son-in-law. He's hurting my daughter. I crossed the living room in 4 strides. The door swung open and Marga Rhett fell through the frame. Her bathrobe askew, one slipper missing. Her gray hair was a wild nest, and her eyes, those calm, church-going eyes I'd seen water her petunias every Tuesday morning, were full of something feral. Terror. The kind that doesn't sleep. Elias, you have to come. Now. He's got her in the basement. I heard her screaming through the vents. I called the police, but they said 20 minutes. 20 minutes. She doesn't have 20 minutes. I grabbed my keys from the hook. Your son-in-law, Derek. Yes, that monster. I knew he was wrong for her. I knew it the day she brought him home. But she loved him and she's stubborn just like her father was. And now. She grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. He's going to kill her, Elias. I know it. I didn't ask questions. I followed her out the door, down the cracked concrete path between our houses, through her back gate. The house was dark except for a single light in the kitchen. The basement door was at the bottom of the stairs, and even from the top, I could hear it. A low, rhythmic thump, a wet sound, like something being hit again and again. And then a scream, muffled, cut off. Marga Rhett made a noise like a wounded animal and tried to push past me. I held her back with one arm. Stay here. Elias. Stay. Here. I went down the stairs. 14 steps. I counted them. I counted everything in those moments because counting kept my hands from shaking. At the bottom, a steel door with a new deadbolt. A deadbolt that didn't match the old brass fixtures. A deadbolt that cost $75 at the HRDWA Restore and told me everything I needed to know about Derek's preparations. I knocked. 3 RP raps. The thumping stopped. Who is it? Derek's voice. Calm. Too calm. Elias Thorne. Open the door. A pause. I heard whispering. A woman's voice. Young. Pleading. Then Derek's laugh, low and dismissive. Go back to bed, old man. This doesn't concern you. Open the door, Derek. Last chance. You don't have a last chance. You don't have anything. You're a retired nobody who mows his lawn on Saturdays and waves at the mailman. You think you're going to do something, you think you're going to stop me. I heard Marga Rhett sob from the top of the stairs. Please, Derek, just let her go. We won't call the police. We'll... Shut up, you old hag. Your daughter is mine. She signed the papers. She chose this. And there's nothing you or your pathetic neighbor can do about it. I put my palm flat against the steel door. COOL metal. Solid. Derek, you have 5 seconds. 5 seconds for what? 5 seconds to open this door before I put my foot through it. He laughed again. A full, belly-deep laugh that echoed through the basement. You're gonna kick down a steel door. With your BA feet, you're 72 years old. Elias. I know all about you. I know you used to be something in the Melita 30 years ago. Big deal. You're a relic. A museum piece. Go back to your house and take your HRT pills. 3 seconds. 2.1. I stepped back and kicked the door exactly 4 inches below the handle. The steel buckled INWARD, the deadbolt read clean through the frame, and the door swung open like it had been invited. Derek stood in the middle of the basement, a length of extension cord in his hands. Behind him, tied to a folding chair, his wife, Jennifer, Marga Rhett's daughter. Her face was a ruin of blood and tears, her wrists raw and chafed. She saw me and her eyes went wide with something that looked like shock. But there was something else in her eyes too. Something that didn't match the terror on her face. Recognition. And then a flicker of something else. Guilt. Derek recovered quickly. He dropped the cord and reached for a hammer on the workbench beside him. You're making a mistake, old man. You don't know what's going on here. You don't know what she did to me. I know you're holding a hammer, Derek. I know you've been hitting your wife with it. And I know you're about to drop it. He tightened his grip. Or what? You'll kill me, Yule. He never finished the sentence. I closed the distance in 3 steps. Dissa met him with a twist of his wrist that sent the hammer clattering across the concrete and drove my knee into his gut. He folded like paper, gasping, and I put him on his knees with a hand on the back of his neck. That's for the door, I said. Jennifer Sta Root screaming. Not help. Not rescue. Something else. No, no, no. You don't understand, Mr. Thorne. Don't hurt him. Please don't hurt him. I looked at her. Really looked. The chair. The ropes. The row wrists. But her clothes were clean. Her shoes were on. And the blood on her face. I'd seen enough battle wounds to know fresh blood from Esamia Red. She'd put it on herself. He didn't do this to you, I said. It wasn't a question. She Sta Root crying. Real TRS this time. It was supposed to be the inheritance. Marga Ret's inheritance. She's got 2 million in savings, and she won't give us any of it. Derek said if I pretended he was abusing me, she'd pay anything to get me away from him. She'd give us the money. She'd... Shut up, Jennifer. Derek's voice was a snarl even with my hand on his neck. Shut your mouth right now. But she couldn't stop. It was all coming out now. A flood of confession. Every detail spilling across the dirty basement floor. The scam. The fake abuse. The plan to make Marga Ret believe Derek was a monster so she'd pay them to leave. The months of preparation. And then, the worst RT. He's not even my son-in-law, Jennifer sobbed. We're not married. We never got married. I met him at a bar 6 months ago. He's a con artist. He told me how we could get the money. He said you were just a neighbor. He said nobody would notice. He said you were nobody. I released Derek's neck. He fell 4-way RD, catching himself on his hands, gasping for breath. I stood over him, looking down at the top of his head. His expensive haircut, his Italian leather shoes, his silk shirt. He'd spent a lot of his own money looking like he came from money. Get up. I said that he didn't move. I said get up. He pushed himself to his knees, then to his feet. His eyes were wild, calculating. He was trying to find an angle, trying to figure out how to talk his way out of this. Look, old man Elias, listen, we can make a deal. You don't tell the police. We split the money. Marga Ret never has to know. She's old. She's got maybe a decade left. We can... I hit him once open-handed. Not hard enough to knock him down. Ha wrote enough to close his mouth. You're going to sit down in that chair, I said, and you're going to wait for the police. And when they get here, you're going to tell them everything. Every detail. Every lie. Every false bruise. And then you're going to jail. You can't make me do anything, he spat. You're nobody. You're just some... I'm not nobody. I said that. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my wallet. Inside, behind my driver's license, was a folded piece of paper. Laminated. Official. I unfolded it and held it up so he could see the seal. The eagle. The letters. Retired Major, United States Army Intelligence. I said. 23 years. For tours. 3 commendations for valor. 1 for meritorious service. And a network of contacts at every federal agency in this country who would love to hear about a con artist who preys on elderly women and beats his accomplice for effect. Derek's face went white. The police aren't going to take 20 minutes, I said. The police are going to be here in 4. Because I called the station on my cell before I kicked your door down. I told them I had a hostage situation in progress. I told them I had a man with a hammer and a woman tied to a chair. They're sending the SWAT team. The sirens Sta Root in the distance. Faint. growing louder. Jennifer sta root screaming again. No, 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 I didn't mean it. I didn't. Save it for the judge, I said. I walked past them both and sta root up the stairs. Margaret was at the top, trembling, her hands over her mouth. She'd heard everything. Every confession. Every word. Elias, she whispered. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Margaret, I said, my voice low and even. You didn't do anything wrong, but you need to know something. What? Your daughter's been lying to you for months, and you were about to give her everything you worked for your entire life. Your house, your savings, your future. She sta root crying. Silent tiara streaming down her lined cheeks. I put a hand on her shoulder. The police going to ask you questions. You tell them the truth. You tell them everything you know. And then you get a lawyer. A good one. And you never, ever let her back into this house. I can't. I don't. You can, I said. And you will. The first patrol car screeched to a halt outside. 2 officers. Then another car. Then the SWAT van. I walked outside and stood in the driveway, my hands raised, my ID held high. The officers looked at me, at the house, at the open basement door. Retired Major Elias Thorne, I said. Hostage is secure. 1 male suspect in custody. 1 female accessory. No shots fired. I'd been through this before. The protocols. The procedures. The questions that always came after. But this time, the questions were different. Because this wasn't a hostile foreign territory. This wasn't a command post in a desert theater. This was my neighborhood. My street. My house. And inside that house, in the basement, sat a man who'd made 1 critical mistake. He called me a nobody. I waited outside while the police did their job. I watched them cuff Derek and Jennifer. I watched Margaret sign her statement with shaking hands. I watched the neighbors come out of their houses, drawn by the lights and the noise, and I watched them look at me with a new understanding. 17 years. They'd known me. 17 years of waving and nodding and talking about lawn care and weather and trash pickup schedules. 17 years of thinking I was just an old man who'd retired to a quiet life. They knew now. I walked back to my house as the first gray light of dawn began to crack the horizon. The door was still open. The clock was still red. For 22 a.m. I sat down in my favorite chair and closed my eyes. The knock came again. Not a fist this time. A soft, hesitant rap on the open door. Elias Margaret. Her voice was steadier now. Come in. She shuffled into the living room, still in her bathrobe, still missing that slipper. She looked 100 years old. I wanted to thank you, she said, for what you did tonight, for saving me from them. You didn't need saving, I said. You just needed to see the truth. She nodded slowly. Then she looked at me with an expression I'd never seen on her face before, a kind of sad curiosity. Who are you, Elias? Really, I know what you told me. The military, the retirement. But tonight, the way you moved. The way you took down Derek without breaking a sweat. The way you handled the police. You're not just a retired soldier. I didn't answer. You saved my daughter too, you know, she said. Even if she doesn't deserve it. Even if she was part of the plan. You saved her from that man. He would have killed her eventually. I know that now. I looked at her tired eyes, at the TRS still drying on her cheeks, at the neighbor who'd watered her petunias and baked me casseroles and never once, in 17 years, asked me a single question about my past. Margaret, I said, go home, get some sleep. The police will call you in the morning. There's something else, she said. Something I didn't tell them. I waited. Jennifer told me something. After the police put her in the CAR. She said they weren't alone. What do you mean? She said there was someone else. Someone who put them up to it. Someone who knew all about you. Who knew your name. Who knew you lived next door. Who knew you'd be the one to come when I knocked. I felt my blood go cold. She said his name. Margaret whispered. She said he told them to pick this house. To pick this street. To pick my daughter as the ma RK. She said he wanted to test you. He wanted to see if you'd react. Who, but I already knew. She said his name was Laurent. And she said he'll be coming to see you soon. She left. I sat in the RK. Sta ring at the empty doorway. Laurent. That name hadn't crossed my mind in 25 years. 25 years since I put him in a cell. 25 years since I testified against him. 25 years since I watched the judge sentence him to life in a federal prison with no parole. A life sentence. That was what the judge had given him. The judge had also said he'd be dead within a decade. Too many enemies. Too many people he'd crossed. Too many loose ends. But Laurent was alive. And he'd just sent a message. He wanted me to know he was coming. The sun rose over the hedges and the mailboxes and the neatly trimmed lawns. The neighbors went back inside. The police cars drove away. The street went quiet. But I stayed in my chair, watching the door, waiting for the next knock. I knew it would come. And this time, it wouldn't be a neighbor asking for help. This time, it would be an old enemy asking for blood. I didn't sleep that night. Not after Marga Ret left. Not after she dropped that name into my living room like a grenade with the pin pulled. Laurent. I sat in my chair until the morning light crept through the blinds and painted stripes across the floor. I watched the dust motes dance in the beams. I counted the cracks in the ceiling. I did everything I could to keep my mind from racing, to stop the flood of memories that came crashing back with that one word. Laurent. ID spent 23 years in intelligence. 23 years of names and faces and operations that blurred into a single long night. But I remembered him. I remembered every detail. The way he smiled. The way he spoke. The way he could make you feel like you were the only person in the room while he was figuring out the best way to slit your throat. I'd been young then. 48. Still Shah RP. Still fast. Still willing to do what needed to be done. He'd been running a trafficking operation out of a coastal city. Women. Children. All of it hidden behind a legitimate business front that had made him millions. I'd infiltrated. I'd gathered evidence. I'd watched him sell human beings like they were used cars. And then, when I had enough to put him away for life, I'd gone in alone. I'd been the one to cuff him. The one to read him his rights. The one who sat across from him in the interrogation room and watched that smile never leave his face, even when the cha ridges were read out one by one. "You're making a mistake," he'd said to me. That same calm voice. That same easy confidence. "You think you've won. You think you've stopped me. But I have people everywhere, Elias. People who will find you. People who will make you pay. You're going to prison," I'd said. "You're not going anywhere. Prison is just a place," he'd said. "I'll be out before you know it. And when I am, I'll find you. I'll find everyone you love. And I'll make you watch before I take what's left of your life." ID left him in the cell, still smiling. 25 years later, he was free. I went to my study. It was a small room at the back of the house, a converted bedroom that I'd filled with bookshelves and a heavy oak desk. The desk had a false bottom. I'd installed it myself when I bought this house. And beneath that false bottom, in a locked compartment, were the things I'd never thought I'd need again. A satellite phone, prepaid, untraceable. A set of ID documents. 3 different names. 3 different nationalities. A loaded Glock 19 with 4 Spa-Re magazines. A knife. Ceramic, non-metallic. And a file. A thick manila folder with Laurent's name on the tab. I pulled the folder out and opened it. Inside were photos, reports, transcripts of every conversation I'd ever had with him. A detailed map of his network and every known associate. I flipped through the pages, looking for something. Anything that might tell me how he'd gotten out, who'd helped him, what he'd been doing for the last 2.5 decades. And then I found it. A single note, clipped to the back of the file. A note I'd made 20 years ago and forgotten. Laurent has a daughter. Unknown location. Unknown identity. Possible leverage. ISTA read at the note. A daughter. I'd never confirmed it. I'd never found her. I'd assumed she was a ghost, a rumor, a piece of misinformation meant to send me on a wild goose chase. But if she was real, if she was out there, then Laurent had a reason to want revenge. He'd had 25 years to plan it. 25 years to watch from his cell while his network crumbled around him. 25 years to wait for the right moment. And that moment was now. I closed the file and put it back in the compartment. I took the Glock and 2 of the magazines. I took the knife. I left the satellite phone where it was. Then I went to the kitchen and made coffee. The morning went by slowly. I did the things I always did. Read the paper. Checked the mail. Ate breakfast. I went through the motions with mechanical precision, my body moving through the routines while my mind ran through Sheena Rios. He's coming for me. That was the certainty. He'd sent Jennifer and Derek to test me, to see if I still had it, to see if I'd react the way he expected. And I'd reacted exactly the way he'd planned. I'd shown him my hand. I'd used my Melita recontacts. I'd made calls. I pulled strings. I'd shown him that I was still connected, still capable, still dangerous. But I'd also shown him that I was predictable, that I'd come running when a neighbor knocked, that I'd put myself in harem's way for people who didn't deserve it. That was my weakness. He knew that. He'd always known that. The knock came at noon. 3 Shah RP raps. The same as before. The same rhythm. The same force. I crossed to the door with the Glock in my hand, held low and out of sight behind my leg. I looked through the peephole. Marga Ret. But not Marga Ret. She was wearing clothes, makeup. Her hair was brushed. Her expression was composed, almost serene. She looked like she was going to church. I opened the door. "Elias," she said. "I need to talk to you. Come in." She stepped inside and looked around the living room like she'd never seen it before. She'd been here 100 times over the years. Christmas parties, summer barbecues, emergency cups of suga are. But now she looked at everything with fresh eyes, cataloging, assessing. "Have a seat," I said. She didn't sit. "I think you need to know something. Something I didn't tell you last night. Something I didn't tell the police." "What is it?" Jennifer told me more than I let on. After the police put her in the CAR, she was still talking. She couldn't stop. She was terrified. She told me that Laurent had been contacting her for months. He sent her messages, instructions. He told her exactly how to find Derek. He told her exactly what to say to me. He orchestrated everything. "I know." She also told me he's been watching you. For years. He knows your routine. He knows what time you wake up, what time you go to bed, what days you get the mail, what days you mow the lawn. He knows everything about you. He's been planning this for a long time. I nodded. That was exactly what I'd expected. "There's one more thing," she said. "Something she told me that I think she didn't realize was important." "Go on." "She said Laurent has a partner. A woman. Someone who's been helping him. Someone who knows you. Someone who—" She stopped. Her face went pale. Her eyes went wide. "Someone who what?" "Someone who lives in this neighborhood." I felt the blood drain from my face. "Who?" "I don't know. She didn't give a name. But she said that when they came for you, the partner would be the one to open the door. The one to let them in. The one to make sure you didn't see them coming." My mind raced. The neighborhood. 17 years. Dozens of neighbors. Some I knew well. Some I rely knew at all. I trusted all of them in my own quiet way. I'd nodded at them, exchanged pleasantries, thought of them as partie of my life. And one of them was a traitor. "I need to know," I said. "I need to know who." "She said you'd figure it out," Marga Ret said. "She said you'd know by the end of the day. She said they'd make sure of it. Make sure of it. That meant they were going to reveal themselves. They were going to show their hand, and when they did, I'd have to be ready to—" "Go home," I said. "Lock your doors. Don't answer for anyone. I'll come check on you in a few hours." "What are you going to do?" "What I always do," I said. "Wait." Marga Ret left. I locked the door behind her. I checked all the windows. I made sure the back door was bolted. I moved through the house systematically, securing every point of entry. Then I sat down in my chair and waited. The sun moved across the sky. The shadows in the room shifted from one wall to the other. I counted the seconds. I measured time in the rise and fall of my own breath. At 4:37 p.m. I heard it at a CAR. Not a normal CAR. A low, throaty engine that rumbled through the quiet street like a distant thunderstorm. I looked out the window through the slit in the blinds. A black sedan. No plates. Tinted windows. Idling at the curb. The driver's door opened. A man got out. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Bald. He wore a black suit and a black tie and sunglasses that reflected the afternoon sun. He walked up the path to my door and knocked. 3 Shah RP raps. The same rhythm. The same force. I opened the door. The Glock was behind my back, tucked into my waistband. Major Thorne, the man said. I'm here to deliver a message. From Laurent, the man smiled. It was a thin, humorless expression. From the organization. You're being summoned to a meeting. Tonight, 10 p.m. The old Wari house on 5th Street. Summoned. Yes. And if I don't come, the smile widened. Then your neighbor Marga Ret will suffer the consequences. We have people in place. People who will make sure she doesn't survive the night. I felt the anger surge in my chest, hot and immediate. But I kept my face calm. I kept my voice steady. I'll be there. Good, the man said. And Major, come alone. You don't need anyone else to get hurt. He turned and walked back to the CAR. He got in. The engine revved. The CAR drove away. I stood in the doorway, watching it disap AR around the corner. Then I went inside, grabbed my jacket, and walked out the back door. The Wari house on 5th Street had been abandoned for years, a relic of a different era before the industry moved out and the city moved on. It was a towering structure of rusted metal and crumbling concrete, surrounded by a chain-link fence that had been cut open in a dozen places. I circled it twice before I approached. I looked for sentries, looked for cameras, looked for anything that didn't belong. But it was just me and the Wari house and the darkness of the night. I slipped through the gap in the fence and crossed the cracked asphalt lot. The main door was open, a dark rectangle in the wall of rust. I stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Dust, oil, something metallic and Shah RP, like old blood. The interior was vast. A cavernous space filled with shadows and the skeletons of long-dead machinery. A single light burned at the far end. A BARE bulb hanging from a wire, casting a pool of yellow illumination on the concrete floor. And standing in that pool of light was Laurent. He hadn't changed. 25 years. He hadn't changed at all. The same Shah RP features. The same calm, amused expression. The same eyes that seemed to see everything and say about nothing. Elias, he said, spreading his arms wide. It's been a long time. I stepped into the light. The Glock was in my hand now. I didn't bother to hide it. Laurent, you look well for a dead man. He laughed. It was a wah-rm, genuine sound that made my skin crawl. Dead? No, Elias. Not dead. Just patient. I've waited a long time for this moment. 25 years. I spent 25 years in a cell, dreaming of the day I'd see your face again. Should have spent more time dreaming of escape. Because that's the only place you're going tonight. Am I? He tilted his head. You really think you can stop me? You really think you can do what the courts couldn't do, what the government couldn't do? I put you away once, I said. I can do it again. I don't think so. He reached into his pocket. I tensed, but he pulled out a piece of paper. Folded. Old. You remember this, don't you, Elias? He handed it to me. I unfolded it. It was a photograph. Old. Creased. Picture of a woman. Young. Beautiful. With a baby in her arms. Your daughter, Laurent said. Your daughter and your granddaughter. I found them, Elias. I found them both. And they're very, very close. I read at the photograph. At the face I hadn't seen in 35 years. At the baby I'd never held. Where are they? I said. My voice was a croak. Safe, Laurent said. For now. But that depends entirely on you. You're going to come with me. You're going to do exactly what I say. And you're going to watch while I take everything from you. Everything you love. Everything you built. Everything you ever read about. I looked at the photograph. At the daughter who'd grown up without me. At the granddaughter I'd never met. And I made a decision. Laurent, I said, you've made a mistake. Have I? You've threatened my family. You've threatened my neighbor. You've manipulated, deceived, and terrorized innocent people to get to me. I raised the Glock and aimed it at his chest. You've also forgotten one very important thing. What's that? He was smiling again. That infuriating, untouchable smile. I was never alone. From the shadows behind me, figures emerged. Men and women in tactical HEA, weapons raised, lights cutting through the darkness like blades. The team I'd called on the satellite phone. The team that had been waiting in the Wari house for hours. The team Laurent had never known was on its way. Laurent, I said, you're under arrest. Again. And this time there's no prison. There's no trial. There's no plea deal. Then what he said. What are you going to do? I pulled the trigger. The bullet tore through the air and punched into the concrete 2 inches from Laurent's AR. He flinched. That's all it was. Tiny, involuntary recoil. But I saw it. I saw the mask crack for a fraction of a second. Then he laughed. Still a warning shot, Elias, after all these years. You still can't pull the trigger when it counts. Can't. I kept the Glock steady, my finger resting on the trigger. Road, or choose not to. The tactical team fanned out behind me. 8 operatives. 3 from my old unit. 5 from a private network I'd spent the last decade cultivating. They moved with practiced precision, covering every angle, every exit. Laurent's smile didn't waver. 8 men. That's your play. That's the best you could assemble on short notice. 9, I said. I'm the 9th. You're a retired major with bad knees and a conscience that's older than the building we're standing in. You think that makes you dangerous? I lowered the Glock. Slightly. Enough to make him think I was relaxing. Laurent, you've been in a cell for 25 years. You've been feeding on fantasies of revenge. You've been nursing grudges and planning scenarios that never once accounted for the reality of what I've become in that time. Which is what a bigger fish. An old fish, I said. A fish who's been around long enough to know that the SMA rudest move in a fight isn't the strongest punch or the fastest draw. It's the one your opponent never sees coming. His eyes narrowed. I could see him processing. I could see the HEA-RS turning behind that calm facade. You're stalling, he said. You bought that satellite phone. You called in favors. You put together a team. But none of that matters, Elias. None of it. Because I've got something you don't have. Enlighten me. He reached into his jacket. Slow, deliberate. A show of confidence. I let him. I wanted to see what he'd pulled out. He produced a phone. Not a cell phone. A device. Old. Rugged. Melita re-encryptioned. I've got this, he said. A dead man's switch. Connected to a series of explosives placed throughout this city. Government buildings. Hospitals. Schools. If I don't press the reset code every 12 hours, they go off. And I've been resetting it every 12 hours for the last 6 months. The team shifted behind me. I heard one of them exhale. Shah RPLY. That's your play, I said. A bomb threat? It's not a threat, Elias. It's insurance. You want to take me in, fine. But you'll be taking me in while the city burns. And you'll be watching the news from a prison cell, wondering if you could have done something different. ISTA read at him. For a long, silent moment, the only sound was the faint hum of the BA bulb overhead and the distant hum of traffic. Then I smiled. Laurent, I said, you've been out of the game too long. What do you mean? That device in your hand. I nodded at it. That's a Signal 47. Melita regrade encryption. Tamper-proof. Foolproof. You recognize it? I designed it. His smile faltered. Just slightly. Just enough for me to see the uncertainty flicker beneath the surface. You designed the Signal 47? That's impossible. The Signal 47 was developed by a defense contractor. A team of engineers. I was the lead consultant on that contract. The design spec had my initials on every single page. And I'm telling you right now, Laurent, that device in your hand has a critical flaw. He held it up, turning it over in his fingers. What flaw? I stepped closer. One step, then another. He didn't move. Every Signal 47 has a backup override. A code sequence that bypasses the dead man's switch. It was installed for exactly this scenario. To prevent someone like you from using it as a weapon. You're lying. I'm not. You're bluffing to save yourself. I'm telling you the truth, I said. And if you don't believe me, look at the screen. He glanced down at the device. The screen glowed a dull green, showing the countdown timer. 12 hours. 11 hours. 59 minutes. And at the bottom of the screen, a small, blinking prompt. Override detected. Enter confirmation code. His eyes went wide. What did you do? I didn't do anything, I said. I told you. The Signal 47 has a built-in backup. And in the last 30 seconds, the device has detected an unauthorized manual override attempt. It's waiting for a code that only I know. And if you don't enter that code within the next 60 seconds, the device will permanently lock. And your dead man's switch will become a live man's switch. He read at the screen. His hands root to shake. I don't believe you. Believe what you want. You've got 53 seconds. He looked at me, at the device, at the blinking prompt. Tell me the code, he said. Tell me where my family is. That's not the deal. 46 seconds. I can't tell you. They're not mine to give. They're 43 seconds. The partner, the woman, she knows. I gave them to her. She's in the neighborhood. She's waiting for me to give the signal. 39 seconds. She's at the corner house. Number 42. She's been living there for 3 years. Her name is 35 seconds. I don't need her name. I need her out. I need my family out. I can't call them. The switch, 32 seconds. I'll do it. I'll call her. I'll tell her to release them. Just give me the code. I held his gaze for a long moment. Then I reached out, took the device from his trembling hands, and pressed a sequence of buttons. The screen flashed green. The prompt disappeared red. The countdown reset. There, I said. Now call the woman at number 42 and tell her to release my family. Do it now. He fumbled for his phone. I watched him dial. I watched him speak in rapid, clipped French. I watched the relief flood his face when he got confirmation. They're being released now, he said. She's letting them go. They're safe. I took the phone from his hand and put it in my pocket. You're going to jail, Laurent, I said. But not the same jail. Not a federal prison. I've got a place for you. Private place. A place where nobody will ever find you. Where nobody will ever hear you scream. You can't do that. You can't. I can, I said. And I will. The team moved in. They cuffed him. They read him his rights. They led him out of the Wari house and into the waiting van. I stood alone in the pool of yellow light. Ring at the empty space where he'd been. My family. My daughter. My granddaughter. Safe. For now. I walked out of the Wari house. The night air was cool and clean. The stars were out. The city hummed in the distance. I pulled out my phone and made a call. Status. Family is secure. Female suspect apprehended at number 42. No casualties. Good. Bring them to the safe house. I'll be there in 20. I hung up and got into my car. The engine turned over with a low growl. I pulled out of the lot and headed east. Tawa RD, the edge of the city. Tawa RD, the place where I'd stashed the things that mattered most. The safe house was a nondescript building on a quiet street. It looked like any other house in the neighborhood. Same lawn, same fence, same mailbox. But inside it was a fortress. Steel-reinforced doors, bulletproof windows, a security system that would make a Melita re-installation jealous. I parked in the garage and went inside. And there, sitting in the living room, were two faces I hadn't seen in 35 years. My daughter, Sa. And my granddaughter, Emily. Sa. looked up at me with a mixture of fear and hope and something else I couldn't quite name. She was older now, lines around her eyes, gray in her hair, but I recognized her. I'd have recognized her anywhere. Dad, she said. Her voice cracked on the word. Sa. She stood up. Her hands were trembling. I don't understand. The woman who brought us here. She said you sent her. She said you were coming. She said we were safe. You were safe, I said. You're both safe now. Emily was younger, maybe 10. She had her mother's eyes. She was sta ring at me like I was a stranger. Who are you? She asked. I knelt down in front of her. I'm your grandfather. And I'm sorry it took me this long to find you. Sta root crying. Dad, I don't know what's happening. I don't know who that woman was. I don't know why she took us. I don't know why we're here. Please, please tell me what's going on. I stood up and put a hand on her shoulder. There's a man. A very bad man. He wanted to hurt me. He used you to get to me. But he's gone now. He's not going to hurt anyone ever again. She looked at me, searching my face for something. A lie, a half-truth, a reason not to trust me. That I gave her the truth. I was a soldier, I said. An intelligence officer. I did things. I made enemies. And one of them came back. But I stopped him. And I'm going to make sure he never comes back again. What about us? Emily said. What about my mom? What about our house, our school, our friends? I looked at her SCA red, defiant face, at the granddaughter who'd grown up without me, who'd never known my name until today. You're going to stay here for a while, I said, just until I'm sure it's safe, and then you're going to go back to your lives. But things are going to change, because I'm going to be in your lives now, whether you want me to be or not. Emily didn't answer. She just looked at me with those same eyes I'd seen in the photograph. Those same eyes that had haunted me for 35 years. Where's the woman? Sarah asked. The one who brought us here. Arrested, I said. She's going to be spending a long time in a place where she can't hurt anyone. Sarah nodded slowly. She was processing. She was trying to make sense of a world that had turned upside down in the span of a single night. I understood that feeling. I'd lived it 100 times. Get some sleep, I said. We'll talk more in the morning. They went to the guest room. I watched them walk down the hallway, mother and daughter, hand in hand. And then I went to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of whiskey. I sat at the table, sta ring at the wall, going over everything that had happened. The knock at 2 a.m. Marga Rhett screams. The basement. Derek. Jennifer. Laurent. And the woman at number 42. The partner. The neighbor. The traitor. I hadn't seen her face. I hadn't been there when the team took her. But I knew who she was. I'd known since the moment Laurent said she'd been living there for 3 years. 3 years. A lifetime in the world of intelligence. Plenty of time to gather information. Plenty of time to watch. Plenty of time to plan. And she'd done it all under my nose. She'd smiled at me at the mailbox. She'd waved at me on the street. She'd brought me COO keys at Christmas. All while working for Laurent. I drained the glass and set it down. Then I pulled out my phone and made one more call. I need everything you've got on the woman at number 42. Every detail. Every alias. Every connection. On it, Major. Give us an hour. You've got 30 minutes. I hung up and sat in the arcade outside. The city slept. Inside, my daughter and granddaughter slept. And somewhere in the distance, Laurent was being taken to a place where he'd spend the rest of his days. But I knew it wasn't over. It was never over with men like him. There was always another move, another pawn, another betrayal waiting in the wings. And I'd be ready for it. I'd always be ready. Because that was who I was. That was what I'd become. A man who'd rened to see the shadows before they moved. A man who'd rened to trust no one. A man who'd spent his entire life waiting for the next knock. Dawn broke gray and cold over the safe house. I'd spent the night in the living room chair, the Glock on the table beside me, my eyes fixed on the front door. Old habits, the kind that never really died. Sarah came out first. She moved quietly, her bare feet making no sound on the roadwood. She changed into a set of clothes from the emergency stash I kept in every safe room. Sweatpants, t-shirt. She looked younger in the soft morning light. She looked like the daughter I'd left behind. You didn't sleep, she said. Sleep is a luxury, I said. Coffee's in the kitchen. She poured herself a cup and sat across from me. The silence stretched between us, thick and uncomfortable. 35 years of nothing. 35 years of questions. Neither of us knew where to start. Emily's still asleep, she said finally. She's SCA red. She doesn't understand why we're here. She'll understand in time. Will she? Because I don't understand. I don't understand any of this. I don't understand who you are. I don't understand why you left. I don't understand why now, after all these years, you suddenly show up and drag us into some kind of war. I let the words land. I deserved them. Every single one. I left because I had to, I said. I was in the middle of an operation, a dangerous one. There were people who would have used you to get to me. I had to keep you safe. Safe, she repeated. You abandoned us. You abandoned Mom. She died alone, Dad. She died wondering why you never came back. I felt the knife twist. I'd known that. I'd lived with that knowledge for decades. It was the price I'd paid for the life I'd chosen. Your mother knew why I left, I said. She understood. She was part of that world, too, in her own way. She knew the risks. She never told me. She was protecting you, just like I was. Sarah shook her head. She set down the coffee cup and read at me with those same eyes. I could see her mother in them. The same stubborn fire. The same unwillingness to let go. Who's Laurent? She asked. And don't tell me he's just some bad man. I deserve the truth. Laurent is a criminal. A trafficker. I put him in prison 25 years ago. He got out. He wanted revenge. He used you to get to me. Used me how? He had someone watching you. Following you. Gathering information. When he was ready, he made his move. He had his people take you and Emily and bring you here. He was going to use you as leverage. But you stopped him. I stopped him. And the woman at number 42. The one who brought us here, she's a neighbor. She lived next door to you. I nodded. For 3 years. She was planted. Watching me. Reporting to Laurent. Sarah's face went pale. We sat in her basement for 2 days. She kept us in a room with no windows. She gave us food and water, but she wouldn't tell us what was going on. She said we were going to meet someone. She said everything would be explained. I know. Why didn't you stop her sooner? Why didn't you know she was there? I'd asked myself that question a dozen times since the night before. The answer was simple. I'd gotten comfortable. 17 years of quiet. 17 years of peace. I'd let my guard down. I didn't know, I said. I didn't know Laurent was out. I didn't know he'd found you. I didn't know any of it. And that's my fault. She looked at me for a long moment. The anger was still there, simmering beneath the surface. But there was something else. A glimmer of understanding. What happens now? She asked. You and Emily are going to stay here until I'm sure it's safe. I've got people watching the perimeter. Nobody gets in without my say-so. And then what? Then you go back to your life. But I'm going to be a part of it. Whether you want me to be or not. The kitchen door opened. Emily shuffled in, rubbing her eyes. She was wearing an oversized hoodie, her hair a tangled mess. She looked at me with that same suspicious stare. Are you really my grandfather? She asked. I really am. She walked over to the table and climbed onto the chair across from me. She looked small and fragile in the early morning light. Mom says you were a spy. I was in intelligence. That's different. How? I gathered information. I protected people. I did things that needed to be done. Like what? I thought about the question. I thought about all the things I'd done. All the things I'd seen. All the things I'd never told anyone. Like stop bad people from hurting good people, I said. Emily nodded slowly. So you're like a superhero. I laughed. It was a rusty sound. One I hadn't made in a long time. Not quite. You saved us, she said. That's what superheroes do. I looked at her. At the girl who'd never known me. At the girl who was giving me a chance I didn't deserve. I'm going to make sure nobody ever hurts you again, I said. I promise. Her phone buzzed. Sarah pulled it out of her pocket and read at the screen. Her face went white. Dad, she said. I'm getting messages. Dozens of them. All from the same number. What do they say? She turned the phone around so I could see. A stream of texts, each one more threatening than the last. You think you've won. Laurent was just the beginning. We're still out here. We're watching you. We know where you are. We know about the safe house. We know about Elias. We know about the girl. I reached for the phone and read through them. My blood ran cold. The messages were time-stamped. They'd been coming in for the last 3 hours. Who is this? Sarah asked. Who's sending these? I didn't answer. I was already on my feet, moving toward the front door, the Glock in my hand. Stay here, I said. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone. Dad? Stay here. I went out the front door. The morning air was crisp and cold. The street was quiet. Too quiet. My team was gone. The 2 operatives I'd posted on the perimeter. Gone. Their positions were empty. Their radios were silent. I walked to the corner of the yard and looked down the street. There, parked at the curb, was a black sedan. No plates. Tinted windows. The same car that had come to my house the day before. The driver's door opened. A woman stepped out. Dark hair. Dark eyes. A face I recognized. Susan. The widow at number 47. The one who'd brought me COO keys at Christmas. The one who'd asked me for help with her GA Reden. The one who'd smiled and waved and never once given me a reason to suspect she was wearing a black coat and black gloves. She looked at me across the distance and smiled. Elias, she called. I was hoping I'd see you. I raised the Glock and aimed it at her chest. You were the partner. The one at number 42. One of them, she said. There are others. Where's my team? Safe. Unconscious. They'll wake up in a few hours with a headache and a lot of questions. You're going to jail, I said. Just like Laurent. Laurent is gone. He failed. He was weak. He was always weak. The organization cut him loose years ago. He was just a puppet. A decoy. A way to distract you while we did the real work. What real work? She reached into her coat. I tensed. But she pulled out a folder. Thick. Stuffed with documents. This, she said. Everything about you, Elias. Every detail. Every mission. Every secret. Every person you've ever loved. It's all here. And if anything happens to me, this gets released to the press. To the government. To your enemies. To everyone. You're bluffing. I'm not. You want to see proof? Turn on your phone. Check your encrypted messages. The team you've spent the last decade building. The private network. The safe houses. The ARMS caches. It's all compromised. I pulled out my phone. Scrolled through the messages. My heart sank. She was right. Everything I'd built. Everything I'd hidden. Everything I'd protected. It was all exposed. You see now, don't you? She said. This was never about Laurent. It was never about revenge. It was about you. About stopping you. About taking you out of the game once and for all. I lowered the Glock. Not because I believed her. Because I needed her to think I did. What do you want? I asked. I want you to disappear, Elias. Retire. For real this time. Walk away. Leave the organization alone. Leave the network alone. Leave everything alone. And if I don't, she smiled. Then I make that call. And you lose everything. Your daughter. Your granddaughter. Your reputation. Your legacy. Everything. I stood there, the morning wind biting at my face. The weight of her words settling on my shoulders. She'd planned it all. Years of preparation. Years of infiltration. Years of waiting. And now she was ready to collect. Give me a week, I said. A week to get my family somewhere safe. A week to tie up loose ends. And then I'm gone. She considered it. 3 days. 5. 4. And Elias, don't try anything. I'll be watching. We'll all be watching. She got back into the car and drove away. I stood in the street, watching the black sedan disappear around the corner. And I made a decision. A decision that would change everything. Susan thought she'd won. She thought she'd cornered me. She thought I'd walk away and disappear into the shadows. She was wrong. I'd spent 35 years in the shadows. 35 yeah rs Leah running how to survive. 35 yeah rs building a network that no one knew about. Not my old unit. Not my former colleagues. Not the people who thought they knew me. There was only one person who knew about that network. Me. And I was about to use it. I went back inside the safe house and locked the door behind me. Ra was standing in the hallway. Emily clutched against her side. They were both shaking. Who was that? Sarah asked. What did she want? Someone who thinks she's won, I said. Someone who's going to Leah Aaron. She's wrong. I walked past them into the study. Small room. Windowless. Reinforced walls. I closed the door and pulled out the satellite phone. The one from the compartment in my house. The one I'd brought with me. I dialed a number I hadn't used in 15 years. It rang twice. Then connected. Status, a voice said. Flat. Emotionless. Code black, I said. Authorization Thorn Alpha 79er. A pause. Confirmed. Executing. The line went dead. That was it. That was the call I'd sworn I'd never make. The call that activated the network. The network I'd built in the shadows. The network that didn't exist on any official record. The network that would do whatever I asked. No questions asked. I'd spent 35 years cultivating it. Recruits I'd saved. Assets I'd protected. Debts I'd collected. A web of loyalty that spanned continents and governments. And now I was calling it all in. I went back to the living room. Ra and Emily were still standing in the hallway. Frozen. They looked like hostages in their own lives. We're leaving, I said. Now. Where are we going? Sarah asked. Somewhere safe. Somewhere she doesn't know about. How can you be sure she doesn't know about it? I looked at her. At the fear in her eyes. The same fear I'd seen in 1,000 faces across 1,000 battlefields. Because I built it myself. With my own hands. And I never told anyone. The safe house was in the mountains. 3 hours north. Through winding roads and thick forest. A cabin that had been in my name since before I'd retired. A cabin that wasn't on any map. A cabin that would keep them safe. I drove. Ra in the passenger seat. Emily in the back. Neither of them spoke. The only sound was the hum of the engine and the wind rushing past the windows. I watched the REA review mirror. Every mile. Every curve. Every CAR that ape read in the distance. No one followed. The cabin was small. Rustic. A single room with a fireplace and a loft for sleeping. But it had power. Running water. And a bunker beneath the floor, stocked with supplies and weapons. This is where you'll stay, I said. Until I call you. Where are you going? Ra asked. To finish this. To make sure she never threatens anyone I love again. Dad, you can't. You RD her. She has everything. Your network. Your contacts. Your secrets. She'll destroy you. I put a hand on her shoulder. Ra. I've been destroying people like her my whole life. The only difference is that this time, I'm doing it for you. She root crying. Silent TRS streaming down her cheeks. I just got you back. I don't want to lose you again. Pulled her into a hug. Her body was trembling against mine. You're not going to lose me. I promise. Emily watched from the doorway. She didn't cry. She didn't say anything. She just watched with those same eyes. Those eyes that had seen too much too young. I went into the bunker. I loaded the weapons. I checked the ammunition. I pulled out the ceramic knife and strapped it to my ankle. Then I looked at the photograph I'd brought from the safe house. The photograph Lauren had shown me. My daughter. My granddaughter. I folded it and put it in my pocket. And then I left. The drive back to the city took 2 hours. I called no one. I texted no one. I drove in silence, my mind working through every angle, every possibility. Susan thought she had me. She thought she'd exposed my network. She thought she'd taken away my options. But she'd made a mistake. She'd threatened my family. And that was the one thing I'd never forgive. I parked 2 blocks from the corner house on number 42. I got out and walked. The streets were quiet. The sun was rooting to set, painting the sky in shades of red and orange. I approached the house from the back. Through the alley, over the fence, across the road. I moved like I'd been trained. Silent. Invisible. The back door was locked. I picked it in 12 seconds. Inside. The house was dark. Quiet. I moved through the rooms, checking each one. Kitchen. Living room. Bathroom. Basement. The door was open. The stairs led down into darkness. I went down slowly, one step at a time. The Glock in my hand. At the bottom, a single light burned. A BA bulb hanging from a wire, just like the Wari house. And sitting in a chair in the middle of the room was Susan. She was waiting for me. "I knew you'd come," she said. "I knew you couldn't resist. You knew I'd come because you wanted me to," I said. "You want to see if I'm still dangerous. I want to see if you're still worth my time." "Your time is over," she smiled. That same thin, cold smile I'd seen from across the street. "You think you can stop me, Elias? You think you can take down the organization? There are dozens of us. Hundreds. We're everywhere. We're in every government, every corporation, every street. You can't stop us." "Maybe not," I said. "But I can stop you." She reached into her pocket. The same motion as before. But this time, I was faster. I shot her in the hand. She screamed. The phone dropped to the floor. I walked over and crushed it under my heel. "Where are the documents?" I asked. "The ones you threatened to release." She was clutching her hand, blood seeping through her fingers. Her face was pale, but her eyes were still defiant. "Somewhere you'll never find them," she said. "Somewhere that's already been sent to the media. Somewhere that's already been sent to your enemies. You're too late, Elias. You're always too late." I knelt down in front of her. "I've been too late before. I've made mistakes. I've let people down. I've failed the people I loved." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the photograph. "But I'm not going to fail them again." I held the photograph up so she could see it. "You see this? This is my family. My daughter. My granddaughter. The only family I have left. And you threatened them. You used them. You put them in danger." I put the photograph back in my pocket. "You made a mistake, Susan. You didn't just threaten me. You threatened them. And that is something I will never forgive." She tried to laugh. Came out as a choked sob. "So what are you going to do? Shoot me, torture me, kill me?" "No," I said. "I'm going to let you live." Her eyes widened. "What?" "I'm going to let you live so you can watch. So you can see what happens next. So you can see me tear down everything you've built. Every person you've recruited. Every plan you've made. Every secret you've kept. I'm going to destroy it all. And you're going to watch from a cell. You can't. The documents are already gone. My network. My real network. The one you didn't know about. The one I built under your nose while you were watching me. They've been taking CA of it for the last 3 hours. Every document. Every recording. Every piece of evidence you had on me. It's all been neutralized." She read at me. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. "You're lying?" she whispered. "I'm not." I reached into my coat and pulled out a file. The same file I'd pulled from the false bottom of my desk. I opened it and showed her the photos. The reports. The transcripts. "Your organization," I said. "Your people. Your network. I've had a team on them for years. I knew about Lauren. I knew about you. I knew about everything. I was just waiting for the right moment." "Impossible." "Is it?" I closed the file. "You see, Susan, I didn't survive 35 years in intelligence by being CA realist. I didn't survive by trusting people. I survived by being 2 steps ahead. Always." She root shaking. Her defiance was crumbling. I could see the walls closing in on her. "Please," she said. "Please don't do this. I have a family too. I have a daughter. She's just like yours. She's innocent. She doesn't know anything about this. Then she's going to learn a lesson about the consequences of her mother's choices." I pulled out my phone and made the call. "Team 2. Move in." Outside, I heard the sound of tires on gravel. Doors opening. Boots on pavement. I stood up and walked to the stairs. I looked back at Susan, still bleeding on the floor. "This is the end," I said. "Not just for you. For all of them. Everyone who's ever threatened me or my family. I'm coming for them all. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. You're a monster, she said. No, I said. I'm a father. And a grandfather. And that's far more dangerous. I went up the stairs and out into the night. The team was already securing the perimeter. For operatives. No uniforms. No insignia. They worked in silence, moving with the precision of people who'd done this 1,000 times. I stood in the driveway, watching them work. A hand touched my shoulder. I turned. It was one of my oldest friends. A man I'd served with for 20 years. A man I'd saved in a firefight in a jungle so remote it didn't have a name. Everything's in place, he said. The network is being dismantled. All the targets being neutralized. It's over. It's not over, I said. Not yet. He looked at me. What else is there? I looked back at the house. At the woman who'd threatened my family. Now we find out who sent her. The team swept the house in under 4 minutes. They found the basement, found Susan, found the blood on the concrete floor. They cuffed her, patched her wound, and loaded her into the back of an unshakable van that I watched from the driveway. My hands were steady. My breathing was even. But my mind was racing through a dozen different scenarios. Susan was a tool. A Shah RP-1, well-crafted, but a tool nonetheless. Someone had aimed her at me, and I needed to know who held the rifle. My old friend Marcus walked up beside me. He was wearing civilian clothes, but his posture was pure military. Back straight. Scanning. Always scanning. The van's ready, he said. We can take her to the secondary site. Start the interrogation. Not yet, I said. We have to move fast. The longer she sits in transit, the more time her handlers have to cover their tracks. I want her talking before we hit the highway. Marcus nodded. He knew how I worked. He'd been with me in that jungle. He'd seen the way I operated. Fast, decisive, unforgiving. I walked to the back of the van. The doors were open. Susan was on a bench seat, her injured hand wrapped in field dressing, her face pale and streaked with tears. You really think you can break me, Elias, she said. You think I haven't been trained for this? You think I haven't spent years preparing for the moment you'd catch me? I don't think anything, I said. I know. I climbed into the van and sat across from her. Marcus closed the doors and the vehicle sta route moving. Here's how this is going to work, I said. You're going to tell me everything. Who sent you? Who recruited you? Who's running the organization now? Every name, every location, every plan. And if I don't, then I make you. She laughed. It was a hollow, desperate sound. You've got nothing, Elias. No leverage. No evidence. No time. My people will find out I'm gone within the hour. They'll disappear. They'll go to ground. You'll never find them. They won't disappear, I said, because they don't know you've been caught. And they won't know for another 6 hours. By then, it'll be too late. Her face went white. 6 hours. I've got a team taking care of your communications network as we speak. They're jamming every frequency, intercepting every signal. Your people think you're still in that house, waiting for instructions. They're not going anywhere. She read at me. The defiance was cracking. I could see the calculation happening behind her eyes. The weighing of options. The slow realization that she had fewer than she'd thought. You can't do this, she whispered. You can't just... I can, I said. And I will. Now start talking. She didn't answer. Not at first. She just sat there, clutching her injured hand. Her eyes rooting back and forth like a trapped animal. Then she root crying. His name is Victor, she said. Victor Castile. He's been running the organization since Laurent went to prison. He took over the trafficking network. The money, the contacts, everything. He's been waiting for years to get rid of you. Where is he? I don't know. He moves. He's always moving. He has safe houses everywhere. Europe, South America, the Middle East. I was just one of his operatives. I never met him face to face. Then how do you take orders? through intermediaries. A woman named Marta. She handles the North American cell. She's the one who recruited me. She's the one who gave me my assignments. Where is Marta? Susan hesitated. I could see her weighing the consequences. The risk of giving up another name. The risk of staying silent. New York, she finally said. She runs the operations out of a restaurant in Brooklyn. Place called Lou J.A. Rudin. She's there every Tuesday night. That's where you'll find her. I memorized the name. Lou J.A. Rudin. Tuesday night. New York. You've been helpful, I said. But I need more. I need everything. Every name. Every operation. Every safe house. Every asset. That's all I know, she said. I swear. I was just a soldier. I did what I was told. I didn't have access to the bigger picture. Then give me the smaller picture. Every detail. Every instruction. Every contact. Start from the beginning and don't stop until I tell you to. She talked for 2 hours. I listened. I recorded. I asked questions when I needed CLA righty. I never raised my voice. I never threatened her. I just let her talk. By the time the van pulled into the second A site, I had more information than I'd expected. Names, places, dates, a web of connections that stretched across 3 continents. And at the center of it all, Victor Castile. The van stopped. Marcus opened the doors. We were in a house on the outskirts of the city. Another forgotten building. Another space I'd prepared for exactly this moment. Take her inside, I said. Secure her in the holding cell. I want eyes on her at all times. Marcus nodded. He and another operative helped Susan out of the van. I watched them walk her into the building. Then I pulled out my phone. Team 3, I said. I need you in New York. Tonight. Lou J.A. Rudin restaurant in Brooklyn. T.A. Riget is a woman named Marta. She's the handler for the North American cell. I want her alive and talking by morning. Understood. The voice on the other end said. ETA 4 hours. Contact me when she's secure. I hung up and stood in the empty parking lot. STA ring up at the STRs. The night was cold and clear. The kind of night that made you feel small and insignificant. That I felt anything but small. That I felt like I was finally doing what I should have done years ago. That I walked into the Wari house. The holding cell was a converted storage room. Steel bars. Concrete floor. A single cot. Susan was sitting on the cot, her head in her hands. I unlocked the cell and stepped inside. You've done enough, I said. You're going to spend a long time here, but you'll be alive, and you'll be fed, and you won't be tortured. That's more than you deserve. She looked up at me. Her eyes were red and swollen. You think this makes you better than them? You think this makes you better than Victor? I don't think about what makes me better, I said. I think about what makes my family safe. And right now, that's the only thing that matters. I walked out of the cell and locked the door behind me. The night stretched on. I didn't sleep. Couldn't sleep. I was running through Sheena Rios' contingency plans, backup strategies. Every move Victor might make. Every angle he might exploit. I called S.A. Ra. She answered on the first ring. Are you okay? She asked. Her voice was strained. We RD sirens. We were worried. I'm fine, I said. Everything's under control. How's Emily? Asleep. She was SCA red at first, but she's okay. We're okay. Good. Stay there. Don't leave. Don't answer the door for anyone. Dad. When is this going to be over? Soon, I said. Very soon. I hung up and sat in the dark. The Wari house was silent except for the hum of the generators and the faint sound of Susan's sobbing from the holding cell. I thought about Victor, a name I'd never heard before, a man who'd been hiding in the shadows for years, a man who'd been pulling the strings while I thought I'd won. And now I was coming for him. My phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. Team 3. New York. TA Riget acquired. The message read, Marta is in custody. We're bringing her in. I smiled. The thin, cold smile. The kind of smile I hadn't worn in years. One down. One to go. Victor was running out of time. and he didn't even know it yet. Marta arrived at the second A recite before dawn. The team brought her in blindfolded and cuffed, her expensive clothes covered in dust from the drive. I watched through the one-way glass as they placed her in the interrogation room. She didn't struggle. She didn't speak. She just sat in the chair with the composure of someone who'd been in this position before. She was older than I'd expected. Mid-50s. Silver hair pulled back in a tight bun. Sharp cheekbones and sharp eyes. She looked more like a banker than a criminal handler. I gave her 15 minutes to sit in silence. Let her wonder what was coming. Let her imagine the worst. Then I walked in. Marta, I said. Thank you for coming. She looked at me with cold, assessing eyes. Elias Thorne, I've heard a lot about you. I was hoping we'd never have to meet. And yet here we are. She shrugged. The cuffs clinked against the metal chair. You've captured me. You've captured Susan. You've dismantled my cell. But you haven't won. You've really scratched the surface. I scratched deep enough to find Victor. Something flickered in her eyes. Via R. Or respect. Ha rode to tell with her. Victor Castile, she said. What do you want with him? I want him to know that I'm coming. And I want you to tell me how to find him. I won't betray him. He's been good to me. He's protected me. He's given me a life I never could have had otherwise. Susan said the same thing. Then she sta root talking. She told me everything. Every name. Every location. Every plan. Marta smiled. It was a thin, humorless expression. Susan was a soldier. A good one. But she was never in the inner circle. She knew only what she needed to know. I know everything. Then prove it. She leaned forward in her chair. The cuffs clanked against the table. Victor Castile has been building his network for 30 years. He's in every government, every corporation, every criminal enterprise worth mentioning. He has more money than you can imagine. More resources. More people. And he's been waiting for this moment. This moment. The moment you'd come out of retirement. The moment you'd start hunting him. He's been planning for years. He knows you better than you know yourself. I sat down across from her. Then he also knows I don't stop. He knows I'll burn everything down to get to him. He knows I'll do whatever it takes. Marta nodded slowly. He knows. And he's prepared. He has a contingency for every scenario. Every move you make, he's already thought of. You can't win, Elias. You've already lost. You just don't know it yet. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. I scrolled through the messages from my team, then held the screen up so she could see your network in Europe. Neutralized. I swiped to the next message. Your contacts in South America. In custody. Another swipe. Your money. Frozen. Every account. Every shell corporation. Every offshore holding. Gone. Marta's face went pale. For the first time, I saw the cracks in her composure. That's impossible, she whispered. You can't have. I can. I did. I have people everywhere. People who've been waiting for this moment. People who owe me favors. People who've been infiltrating your organization for years. She read at me. Her jaw tightened. Victor will find out. He'll disappear. He'll go to ground. You'll never. He already knows, I said. I made sure of it. I pulled up another message and showed it to her. Sent 3 hours ago. Encrypted. Untraceable. Victor. I know everything. I'm coming for you. There's nowhere you can hide that I won't find you. Elias. Marta read the message. Her hands root shaking. You've just signed your own death warrant. No, I said. I've signed his. I stood up and walked to the door. I turned back to look at her one last time. You're going to tell me where he is. You're going to tell me everything. And then you're going to spend the rest of your life in a place where nobody will ever hear from you again. I'll never talk, she said. Yes, you will. I left her in the room and walked to the observation deck. Through the glass, I could see her sitting alone, her head bowed, her body trembling. Marcus was standing beside me. She's breaking. he said. Give her another hour. She doesn't have an hour. I'm going in. Elias, you can't. She needs time. She needs to know that I mean it. I walked back into the interrogation room. Mart looked up at me, her eyes red and swollen. Change your mind, she asked. Ready to let me go? No, I said. Ready to show you something. I pulled out the photograph. The same photograph. Sarah. Emily. My family. You see this? I held it up so she could see. This is my daughter. My granddaughter. They're the reason I'm still alive. They're the reason I keep fighting. And they're the reason I'm going to find Victor Castile and end this once and for all. What do you want from me? I want to know where he is. I want to know his plan. I want to know everything. And I want you to tell me now. She looked at the photograph, at the faces of my family. And then she looked at me. He's in the city, she said. He's been there for weeks. He's been watching you, waiting for the right moment to strike. The city where there's a building, old office tower, downtown. He owns it under a shell company. He's got a penthouse on the top floor. He's been using it as his base of operations. What floor? 37th. He's got a private elevator. Security on every level. Men posted at every entrance. He'll be expecting you. I nodded. He'll be expecting me. But he won't be expecting what I'm bringing. I walked out of the room and made the call to Team 4. I said, I need a strike team at the old office tower downtown. 37th floor. Target is Victor Castile. I want a full assault plan within the hour. Understood. I hung up and looked at Marcus. You're coming with me. Always. We read up in silence. Body a remer. Weapons. Communication equipment. I strapped the ceramic knife to my ankle. I tucked the Glock into my waistband. I loaded the Spa-Re magazines. Then I walked to the van and got in. The drive was silent. Marcus sat beside me, his eyes fixed on the road. The other operatives were in vehicles ahead and behind us. A convoy of darkness moving through the sleeping city. We arrived at the tower at 4 a.m. The building was dark except for a few lights on the upper floors. The windows of the penthouse were blacked out. Ready? Marcus asked. Ready? We entered through the service entrance. The strike team moved ahead, clear ring each floor, neutralizing the security as they went. Silent, efficient, invisible. By the time we reached the 35th floor, the building was ours. The only thing left was the penthouse. We took the stairs. 36th floor. 37th floor. The door was steel, reinforced. A keypad next to the frame. Marcus looked at me. How do we get in? I walked to the keypad and typed in the code. 0427. The door clicked open. Mart's voice echoed in my head. He's been watching you. He knows everything. I'd known it was a trap. I'd known she was playing me. But I didn't see because I wasn't there to capture Victor. I was there to end him. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The penthouse was vast. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Expensive furniture. A bar. A fireplace. And in the center of the room, standing in front of the windows, was a man in a perfectly tailored suit. Tall, lean, silver hair. A smile that didn't reach his eyes. Victor Castile. Elias, he said. I was wondering when you'd get here. I raised the Glock and aimed it at his chest. Game's over, Victor. Is it? He laughed. It was a cold, brittle sound. You think you've won. You think this is the end? I've been planning this for years. I've had people everywhere. I've watched you. I've studied you. I know you better than you know yourself. You don't know me at all. Don't I? He reached into his pocket. I tensed. But he pulled out a photograph. The same photograph. Sarah. Emily. I know they mean everything to you. I know you'd do anything to protect them. And I know you're about to make a choice that will haunt you for the rest of your life. What choice? You can shoot me, he said. Or you can watch them die. He pulled out his phone and pressed a button. On the screen, a live feed app read. A room. A cabin. My cabin. Sarah and Emily were asleep in the loft. I have a team outside, Victor said. If I don't call them in the next 60 seconds, they'll breach the cabin. They'll kill everyone inside. Your daughter, your granddaughter, everyone. ISTA read at the screen. At my family. At the only thing in the world that mattered. And I smiled. Victor, I said, you made a mistake. Did I? I never sent that message. The one I told Marta about. I never told you I was coming. His smile faltered. You knew I was coming because you were watching, but you didn't know I already had people in place. People who've been watching you for even longer. I pressed a button on my earpiece. Team 5, go. On Victor's phone screen, the feed changed. His team, neutralized. The cabin, secured. Your team is gone, I said. My daughter and granddaughter are safe. And you're alone. Victor Sta read at the screen. For the first time, his face showed something other than calm. Impossible, he whispered. Impossible is what I do. I raised the Glock. And I pulled the trigger. The bullet struck Victor's shoulder. He stumbled backway RD. His hand flying to the wound, blood seeping through his fingers. The phone clattered to the floor. The screen went to RK. He looked at me with a mixture of shock and hatred. That smile was gone now, replaced by something raw and real. You missed, he said. You had a clean shot and you missed. I didn't miss. I walked Tawa RD him, the Glock still trained on his chest. He backed away until he hit the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sprawled beneath him, 1,000 lights flickering in the RK. You're a dead man, Elias, he spat. You know that I have people everywhere. People who will hunt you forever. People who will make you pay for this. Maybe, I said, but they won't be your people, because your organization is gone. Every cell, every asset, every ally. I've dismantled it all. You're lying. I'm not. Check your phone. He didn't move. His eyes root to the device on the floor, then back to me. Check it, I said as he bent down slowly, wincing from the wound, and picked up the phone. His fingers trembled as he scrolled through the messages. Messages I'd arranged. Messages that confirmed every word I'd said. His face went white. All of it, he whispered. Everything. Gone. Yes. He looked at me with something that bordered on respect. Respect and terror in equal measure. Why do this? Why destroy everything I built? Because you threaten my family. He nodded slowly. Then he smiled. That same cold, brittle smile. You think this ends with me, you think you've won, there's always someone else. Someone worse. Someone who will find you and destroy everything you love. Maybe, I said, but not today. I lowered the Glock and holstered it. What are you doing? He asked. Letting you live. ESTA read at me. You're making a mistake. A terrible mistake. I don't think so. I walked to the door and stopped. I turned back to look at him, bleeding on the floor of his penthouse, surrounded by the ruins of his empire. Victor, you're going to prison. Prison I built. A prison nobody knows about. A prison where you'll spend the rest of your life alone in the DRK. You can't do that. You can't. I can. And I will. I opened the door. Americus was waiting in the hallway with the strike team. Secure him, I said. Take him to the holding site. Deep level. No contact with anyone. Americus nodded. He moved past me into the penthouse. I walked to the elevator and pressed the button. The doors slid open. I stepped inside and watched the lights descend, floor by floor, until I reached the ground level. The night air was cool against my face. The city hummed in the distance. I pulled out my phone and made the call. Sa Ra. Dad. Are you okay? I'm fine. It's over. Silence on the other end. Then a sob. A breathless, relieved sob. Come home, she said. Please. Just come home. I looked up at the DRK sky. At the STRs scattered across the void like distant promises. I'm coming, I said. I'm coming home.